back in a couple of minutes, guys. Yeah, that's the coffee tasting wheel. So these are all of the main flavour compounds that are found in coffee, both positive and negative. So it's basically like, can you get them for wine as well? So this is in collaboration with the SEA and then World Coffee Research, who did studies into the organic acids and the volatile compounds that are found in coffee, that they've kind of categorised it in a way that's easy for people to understand. But basically that's our flavour guidance when we put tasting notes on bags. Because every origin, every processing method is different basically. Cool, man, I'll grab a few more coffees, I'll be up in a sec, alright?
Okay.
So it's all done mainly blind, and then I've got the coffee information underneath these trays. So it's like minimising your...
That'll be blind for me anyway, I think.
Yeah, well, it will be tasting these going, oh, it's that, and then you'll be like, oh, what's this? You'll probably pick up on a few. I think if you've drunk any coffee as filter or espresso or any shorter milkies, you will get some of those core characteristics coming through. Literally, I specifically do this multiple times per day. Like I've already cupped twice today. I've already done this process with other coffees twice, which is mental because you think how many cups of coffee you're tasting, but you're not really drinking it down, you're spitting it out like wine tasting, so it's a bit different. So you probably get like nutty, kind of biscuity,
Yeah, definitely.
kind of flavours, aromas coming through. Yeah, so it's kind of 3 tiers. Yeah. And also, obviously, with some of our taste notes, we like to put sometimes like a specific type of chocolate that is dark, maybe a 70 to 80%, or you know, we'd be a bit more specific with it. It's done like that all around the world. So this process is being done right now in Kenya, it's being done in Japan, somewhere in a QC lab, you know, it's being done everywhere. It's the process that every coffee roaster or coffee grower will follow to evaluate a coffee. So there's quality standards as well, known as Q grading. The process is essentially releasing and kind of, it's really pungent and quite intense. When we break the crust, it's a really good time to understand the coffee's aroma. Yeah. So we've got about a minute to go before we have a proper spoons.
Are any one of these what I had earlier? No.
Whoa, I don't know. I actually don't know.
Because we don't know what's on
Wow,
without tasting, we wouldn't know.
I'd have a good crack and guess
You can
what they are,
visually
but
tell by the beans themselves.
I was just saying which one I had in that fat one.
Oh no, it's not on the table.
Oh, no.
Not on the table. But there's one similar coffee to one of the components of that on the table. I'll say that. So what we do now, I'll do the first one, and you just do the second one. So this is known as breaking the crust. We do it around 4 minutes, and that's basically you put the spoon midway through the cup and then move 3 times through the crust while smelling, and it's just a really good time to take in those aromas. Just going to fill these bowls with a bit of water, just because we need to then clean the spoon in between every sample, just so we don't cross-contaminate, because otherwise you could be tasting some of the other coffee back-to-back kind of thing. So I'm just going to pop that in hot water. So 1, 2, 3, and just really breathe in those aromas. Have a good sniff. Go for it. Be quite intense in the aroma that comes from the grounds then. And then go for that one, mate. I'll just crack on. Very different, obviously, when it's dry. So we just wait for these to get a little bit more cool, so around 12 minutes, and then we try and taste them every couple of minutes just as they cool then, so hot, warm, cold. Because they'll change like so much over that time. Usually like high quality, well processed and picked coffees will generally stay very positive flavours as they get cooler.
Yeah, funny enough, if I've left the coffee by accident,
Yeah.
or like halfway through or something, yeah, I definitely get the
acidity becomes higher, it's
Yeah.
kind of more sour almost, so it should still be tasty and a bit more fruit forward, but generally well picked, well processed coffees have a really good like thermal stability, like
Yeah.
they will just taste delicious all the way through.
Well,
So one of the things that's quite funny actually in kind of this tasting experience is like we fill the spoon most of the way and then we actually slurp it as loud and as we can to get it. Yeah, that's just P.2 there, if you want to use it or not. And it kind of sprays on your palate, kind of like if you ever done wine tasting, same kind of like slurp, like aerating on the palate, like that kind of thing, and it sprays onto the palate and you really get a good idea of the coffee then. And then we do 2 bowls for consistency. We normally do, if you're doing a purchasing, we may have more bowls for cup to cup consistency, because good quality coffee should be consistent bean to bean, so that's why we've got multiple to kind of evaluate that. So they shouldn't taste too dissimilar from each other, but have a taste now. And then have a spit out if you don't want to drink it, it's all good. Yeah, it should be quite different. So there's a few different processing methods and drying methods on the table. So most commonly you see wash process on a bag of coffee. And that basically means like the cherry on the outer part of the coffee is being essentially squished and then washed off with fresh water. That makes for a very clean, more acidity driven kind of coffee.
Yeah.
It's really common because it's the most consistent way to dry a coffee and to process it. And then like you visually see here, like this is a natural processed coffee because of you can see the little silver skin in the middle of the bean.
Yeah.
It's way less apparent on naturals because that's through the processing that is generally deteriorated through the processing method. The natural process is on the other end of the scale where they leave the cherry on and dry that in the sun on a raised bed or on a patio or something like that, and then they then remove that cherry afterwards, so the sugars, the fermentation that happens naturally is then imparted onto the seed. So that is quite common in certain countries. So Brazil is very well known for it, Ethiopia is really well known for it, usually places with lower water kind of usage.
Yeah.
It's good enough.
Very jasmine-y.
And then here's a wacky example. I'll tell you more about it in a sec, but let's have you a taste of all of them first. Yeah, really boozy almost. It's kind of like got a little bit of alcohol kind of characteristic coming through. And this is known as an anaerobic process. Similar in ways to natural, but it's actually kind of like if you've ever made like kimchi or something, or like a sauerkraut. An anaerobic process is just without oxygen. So if you do another pass, it'll be like you said earlier, when you've left your coffee for a little bit and suddenly everything's more punchy. That's going to be, especially on this now, it's just going to be much more apparent. The acidity is going to come out a bit more. So I'll let you in on what coffees they are, so I'm just going to flip this over. So these are, so Worker Worry is a washed Ethiopian coffee. That is our house filter, which is, I think I've sent to you a couple of times. Duramina is a new Ethiopian coffee that we've just released. Slightly higher in quality, more kind of lemony and kind of citrus coming through. This one is Rocky Mountain from Panama. So we work with a producer called Finca Hartman in Panama, and they produce some amazing coffees. A lot of their coffees are in the Best of Panama Awards each year. It's really cool. Colombia La Montana, which is a microlot Colombia wash process. Brazil de Terra, so that kind of boozier one was that anaerobic long fermentation that it's actually a lot that was planted for us about 7 or 8 years ago, and this is a natural brandy which is similar to the spec that's in Cadence in terms of the natural brandy 50%, so it's very similar. Yeah, so different, aren't they? You know, especially because we've got obviously completely different growing regions here. We've got Africa, we've got Central America, South America, Africa again, another part of East Africa. So it's like they should all taste really different.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's really. I think we take it for granted sometimes because we do this every day. Like,
Shit.
but
We get so picky, and you gotta remember that these coffees are literally some of the best coffees
yeah, in the world, like you
in the
know,
world at the moment.
yeah, specialty coffee makes up less than kind of like 10% of the world's production, and this is the high scoring, highly grown, kind of best production of the world. Essentially, that's all we deal with. Which is, so we're spoiled really, we're dealing with the cream of the crop basically.
Well, thank you for letting me taste it.
It's alright. I'm sure we'll sort that out.
That's fine.